We are here for a recap of the Pitt Georgia Tech game, Alex. So that was a pretty good win for Pitt.
Ryan, I don't think you could ask for a better win. You go into halftime scoring 42 points. You knew you had a good feeling that it was over from there, but with Pitt, you never knew. But they closed it out in better fashion than we've seen in the past from Pitt. And what a performance.
I mean, not a better way that you could start ACC play. You go 1-0 ACC, got a nice bye week, prepare for a hard game at Virginia Tech. I mean, couldn't ask for a better start, 52-21, a demolition on offense. It wasn't always pretty on defense, but they made the big plays when they need to. They started off with 2 interceptions on back-to-back possessions, Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech tried to replicate what Western Michigan did with the RPO, and that blew it up in their faces, Alex. Now, I'm going to show a video of those 2 interceptions here.
And Ryan, as we saw in those after those 2 RPO plays that went badly for Georgia Tech, they never tried it again. Here's the first one.
Jahmyr Gibbs in the backfield. Here's a quick throw by Sims, and it's intercepted. They pick it.
And you see there, he does the fake handoff, and he tries to. It gets tipped to the line of scrimmage from Destin Alexander, gets picked off by Cam Bright, and then they went right back to it on the second possession.
Exact same thing, but it was also another tip, Ryan. Or he was hit as he threw it.
Yep, hit as he threw it.
Yeah.
And into the end zone for the Panther touchdown. Second down and 9.
See, that's the fake handoff.
There's the fake.
Sims wanted to throw in the air and intercepted.
Nobody close to John Patricia.
Near side touchdown for Pittsburgh.
And that just set the tone for the game. You see, he does the fake handoff again, looks for the slant in the middle. He's blown up in their faces, hit as he throws. And John Patricia, Agent Zero, 7th-year senior, takes it back to the end zone. Although I probably shouldn't call him that because he tweeted out after this, like, why does all the announcers have to mention that I'm a 7th-year senior? I know I'm old. You don't have to rub it in my face.
But 7th, this is obviously his best year at Pitt. He's been phenomenal this year. And ever since the first game against UMass, I remember saying that during a UMass recap. We haven't done a recap since. This is good. We're doing this today. In the UMass recap, I said that look out for him the rest of the year. He looked fantastic. And then he hasn't had that same kind of level of performance until this game today. Not today, but yesterday, I should say. But he was phenomenal.
He was, Alex, and he's going to make a big difference the rest of this whole year. I mean, he has so many good linebackers. Phil Campbell, Savachie Dennis, John Patricia. I mean, just a lot. Wendell Davis. He's got a lot of guys that can get to the quarterback, make big plays, and just in big times. I mean, they allowed a lot of yards. The defense wasn't perfect. They allowed like over 400 yards total. But the big thing was Georgia Tech, 2 for 11 on 3rd down and 1 for 4 on 4th down. And a couple of those big plays led to first and goal. And Pitt actually didn't give up points when they had first and goal, except for a couple of times. I mean, Georgia Tech only scored 21 points, but you look at its stats, like if you look at its stats, you see 400 yards for Georgia Tech, 500 yards for Pitt. Like, oh, maybe down to the wire game. But then you find out that it was a 31-point win. I mean, Pitt's defense, they let up the big plays, but yet again, that's going to happen against ACC teams. It's just a matter of how you respond. And Narduzzi called it money downs. He said, don't matter what happened on 1st down, 2nd down. If you win the money downs, 3rd and 4th down, then you can win the game.
How about the discipline of Pitt, too, in this game, Ryan? 1 penalty. They were phenomenally disciplined.
1 penalty?
1 penalty throughout the game.
Really? I swear they had like 10.
I think they had one.
Is that what it said?
No, that's not what it says. It says 1 penalty on on 1st downs. That's 1st downs. Okay.
Oh, okay. Yeah, the total six penalties for 65 yards.
6 penalties, but that's pretty disciplined for Pitt.
It is.
More so than in the past.
A couple stupid penalties. Well, one pass interference that was bad, and 1 late hit by AJ Woods that was bad. But other than that, I mean, they were pretty disciplined. A couple holdings by the offensive line. But talk about the offensive line, Alex. The protection was there all day for Kenny Pickett.
Oh, absolutely. Kenny Pickett had an enormous amount of time to throw the ball. He had 389 yards, Ryan, and he also had 4 touchdowns. Only sacked once throughout those 36 attempts that he had. And that's pretty darn good. And the offensive line, Drexel was back for this game, and he was pretty solid.
He was solid, and it makes a difference when you have that center back. A lot of fans are like, it was good last week when Drexel was hurt, and he'd come back. Like, is it going to be as good? And he came up in a great role, perfect snaps all day, right into Kenny Pickett's hand. And Kenny Pickett had time, could afford a launcher there before he threw it. I mean, it's 5 seconds every time he throws it. There's this one breakdown where he got sacked, where he got hit right away. But other than that, the protection was really good, and that's tight ends, running backs, everybody. Kenny Pickett, he'll be treating them good at his the Oaklander hotel where he treats them to his weekly weekly hog dinners, as he calls them, that he's doing through the NIL deal. But I mean, he's going to treat them well, and they're treating him well right now in the pocket.
Absolutely. Also, they're treating the running game well, Ryan. 181 yards on the ground for the Panthers.
Yeah, big performance. Israel Aminikanda led the way with 60 yards and 2 touchdowns on 15 carries. And then Vincent Davis had an okay day as well, 15 carries, 50 yards. And then Rodney Hammond got some time at the end. And he just get those extra yards. That's the end of the game. He had like an 18-yard rush that he almost got him. He was hit at the 10-yard line, just carried the guy to the 1-yard line. And I know he wanted to get that extra touch at the end of the game and get 1 more yard for the touchdown to get another touchdown after his 3 touchdown performance last week. But Nardi took the knee, and then him and Jeff Collins hugged it out at the end.
Yeah, that was different than the last time they exchanged pleasantries at midfield, wasn't it?
It was. I actually have a video of what happened last time. I can share that now as well. Try to find
Same team came out on top though, both times, Ryan. Pitt.
Yeah, Pitt's played at Georgia Tech the last 3 years, and they've won every time. Here's the handshake last time.
It's a bit of a look away.
And then compared
a bit of a look away. A bit of a look away. He called it. There's the new one.
Yeah.
They're the favorite to me in the Coastal Division.
Now they're hugging.
Then there's the hug. Oh, I mean,
I don't know if you saw. I don't know if you can notice that in the 2 videos. It looks like it's the same police officers that Pitt has. I don't know if it's
I
the
didn't
same.
even notice that. That's good detective work there, Alex. But it's funny. Something you can always look back on. Jeff Collins chased Sam for 1 second and runs away. He's mad at the officials, even though they lost by 14 points. So he couldn't be mad at the officials after this one. He could have been mad at himself after losing by 31 points after beating North Carolina by 23 points last week. I mean, they had 8 sacks North Carolina. That really shows the Pitt's offensive line is really gelling now. They're coming together and they're getting better week by week, and that's going to come in handy the rest of ACC play, Alex.
Oh, absolutely. When you face the better and better defenses, Clemson, you got Miami. Miami always has good defense. They have a defensive coach in Manny Diaz. And then Virginia Tech next in 2 weeks, I should say, 2 weeks. You always got to be careful with Virginia Tech. They always have a lot of great athletes, especially in the secondary. Not as much in the pass rush, but they do have an excellent secondary down at Virginia Tech. And we have great wide receivers here. And how about that 3 to 8 connection that we've been talking about on the podcast? Pardon me?
8 to 3.
8 to 3. 3 to 8. 8 to 3. Same thing. You got Jordan Addison, another phenomenal week. He's the best wide receiver in college football.
I mean, he is truly unbelievable. A sophomore as well. But the thing that he does the best, what I like about him the best, he said in his post-game press conference, he's like, I'm not going to get the ball every play. But he said to Taysir Mack when Taysir scored that touchdown, he said, get open. I'm going to draw the defensive backs and the safeties to me. So he cut across the middle, drew them into him, and that allowed Max to get that long touchdown score. I mean, he's a team player. He doesn't care what his stats look like as long as the team wins, and his stats have been looking pretty good, so he doesn't have to worry about what those look like either.
No, he's right. He has the most touchdowns in college football right now for wide receivers, which is phenomenal.
Was it 9 touchdowns?
9 touchdowns.
It's cool when it's 4 touchdowns and tight end. That's like the most in a long time for Pitt football. Taysir Mack's been having a great year. 5 receptions, under 21 yards. A lot of guys, Gavin Bartholomew, freshman tight end, is getting those couple of receptions a game. He's making an impact. If he continues to get better each year, he's going to be a force in the ACC. And they can get somebody to pass it to him next year. But let's worry about this season. Alex, what is some of your takeaways defensively for the game? I mean, what players stood out to you other than as you mentioned, before, John Patrician?
Servassier Dennis was phenomenal. He had 6 tackles. He led the team in tackles, and he had a sack in the game. He was phenomenal. And then you look in the secondary. The secondary gave up a lot of yards. They gave up over 300 passing yards to Sims. But I thought they were overall pretty solid. They kept everything underneath them. They didn't let many people get above them. I thought that was a big difference from what we've been seeing. They did have that 1 touchdown Georgia Tech did that they got behind them. Yeah. The rest of that game, they were phenomenal. And
Narduzzi explained that touchdown after the game. He said Brandon Hill had been out for like a long couple plays in a row, and he was tired, and they were trying to sub him off, but they couldn't sub him off. So he was like sucking wind, as Narduzzi called it. They're trying to get him off, and they snapped the football, so he had to try to catch back up, and he was just out of breath. I mean, it's hard when you're that safety, especially when Pitt rushes as much as they do. It's hard when you're on the island. You're gonna get blown up sometimes for some big plays, and it happens, but you got to make sure you do your best to make sure that doesn't happen. And that's why you do the substitutions. They were trying to, but they weren't able to there.
I thought John Morgan was good this game
John
too.
Morgan, yeah. I really like him. He had one sack, he had a couple tackles for loss, I believe. Also, Pitt had only 2 sacks, but Georgia Tech's a fast team. They throw the ball fast, they get rid of it fast. And they had 10 tackles for loss, Pitt. So they stuffed the running game all day long. In the running back for Georgia Tech, and I believe had negative 10 yards on 10 carries.
Which is that's incredible.
10 carries for negative 10 yards, but didn't allow Sims to run a little bit. He got 38 yards, which is incredible. But I got nervous there. He had that first run for 25 yards, and when it was 0-0, I'm like, oh, this is going to be a long day. The next play, Pitt picks it off, and I'm like, okay, we got this thing. And then they ended up keep going from there and just never look back. And those interceptions really set the tone for the game, Alex. I mean, when you get early leads, against Tennessee, they went down 10-0. Western Michigan, they went down 21-7. So, I mean, it's hard to come back from those. They did it in Tennessee. They weren't able to Western Michigan. But it's important to get out to the early leads, because if you go down, you can't go down, especially in ACC play, because these are good teams. They can hold leads, and it's important to get out to those early leads.
I really do think, Ryan, that if Pitt is not leading at halftime, they're going to have a heck of a time winning some of these games, because the first half for Pitt has been so crucial in all the games that they've played this year that they have to be ahead at halftime for them to be able to win these games. As you saw, this is the best first quarter I would say that Pitt's played all year, 21-7. And then you would get another 21 points in the second quarter. Then you're up 42-14. Wasn't 42-14 at halftime? And that when you're up by that much at halftime, you're in a really, really good position to win the game. And they obviously did and never got close. But you have to have that lead going into halftime. That first quarter is, in particular, very important as well.
Yeah, it's especially important. Against when you get some of these tougher games. We thought Georgia Tech might be one of the toughest ACC games, and we saw how that turned out. But what Georgia Tech team are we going to see the rest of this year, Alex?
I think Georgia Tech is a solid team. I think they'll get 7 wins this year. I think they truly could get 7 wins. They play Duke next week. They'll beat Duke. They do play Georgia at the end of the year. They play Notre Dame and Georgia at the end of the year. They'll lose both those games. They'll lose both those games, I think. But then
they had that big win against North Carolina, played Clemson tight. But, North Carolina, they're a good team, I still think. But they have those weeks where they can get blown up defensively, and I think Kenny Pickett will tear them apart. Of course, Sam Hall could probably tear Pitt's defense apart also. But, I think Pitt should win that game against North Carolina. But let's look ahead. Let's look at the ESPN FBI Power Index for Pitt this week. It just kind of blew me away when I saw this. I was surprised by it. It gives Pitt a projected record total of 9 wins and to go 9-3, which is possible. This is where it kind of gets a little crazy. 72% chance to win the Coastal, 44% chance to win the ACC, and this is the craziest one. It gives them a 9% chance to make the playoffs. Yes, I'm not lying.
Top 4, the college football playoffs. You're talking about the college football playoffs, Ryan?
Yes. And I'll give the credit to that. I wouldn't have found that out if it wasn't for John McGonigal. I found that on Twitter, so let's give a little credit for him. But it gives them a percent to win a chance to win every game. Right now, they're 73% being Virginia Tech, 54% to beat Clemson, and then the rest of the way, it's pretty good. Nothing else in the 50%. Of course, that changes after every game, every week. But they're in a good spot. It's not crazy to note about. It's something to note about, but it's not like this is going to happen. It's something to mention. It's always cool when you can see that it has them going 11-1. So it's good to mention that. I don't think they'll go 11-1. I just want to point that out there. But it's fun to see.
I was the one at the beginning of the year. I want people to remember this. I was the first person to say they would go 10-2. I was the first person to say they would go 10-2, and I said pretty adamantly this week that they'd beat Georgia Tech, and they did. Even our bets of the week segment, I was talking about Pitt making that 3.5 points. I don't know if I mentioned that during the bets of the week segment, but I mentioned it during the podcast, absolutely. But check out the bets of the week segment if you haven't already. Andrew Goss has been doing a phenomenal job. Even though this Sunday the games have already started for the early games, you got Monday night. We talked about the Monday nighter as well, but he's been red hot. Andrew Goss, our phenomenal handicapper. But ACC, I think Pitt wins the Coastal right now. You heard it
Yep.
here first.
And
Pitt
speaking of
wins
the Coastal, let's look at the Coastal Division, Alex. There are only
Yeah.
two teams that don't have a loss yet, Pitt and Virginia Tech, and that's going to be a great matchup down in Blacksburg. It's a tough place to
Oh.
play. It's good that Pitt got that game in Tennessee because it's going to be an atmosphere similar to that. Pitt hasn't played good in Blacksburg. The last time they went down there in 2019, they lost 28-0. But this is a more experienced team, a more explosive team, and I'd say a way better offensive team. So it's going to be fun to see. It should be a fun game. But then you look at the rest of the Coastal. UNC 2-2, UVA 1-2, Georgia Tech 1-2, Duke 0-1, Miami 0-1. So what teams are a legitimate threat to Pitt in the Coastal?
Miami. I would say Miami and
depending
Virginia
on when De'Ara King comes back, correct?
Correct. But I think Miami only has one loss in the ACC. And then you got, I think it's going to be Miami and Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech game next week, 2 weeks, I should say. Again, I messed it up again. It's massive. It's massive. But the thing you have to look for with Virginia Tech, even though they've played one less game than Pitt, they've scored almost 200 less points. It's about 170 something less points than Pitt has. So
Pitt,
this
how
team
many
is not a
points have they
team
let
that
up?
scores a lot.
How many points have they let up?
They let up 61, so they still have a plus 30, plus 33.
So the defense
point
is pretty good.
differential.
But we thought Georgia Tech's defense was pretty good. I mean, UNC only put 21 up on them, and Clemson only put 14. So Pitt's offense, are they one of the best offenses in college football? Obviously, they look like it right now, but would you say they are a top 5 offense in the college football?
I need to see a little bit more. I don't think they're top 5 offense.
How about we see what happens to Virginia Tech? If they can continue this, Kenny Pitt can continue this, then we'll definitely come to that conclusion.
Because I'd say Virginia Tech is a top defense in college football. You see giving up 61 points. I mean, that's phenomenal. And they play Notre Dame next week. That's a real test. We'll really see how they are in prime time because that's a big game.
It is. It's going to be fun to watch. UNC always has a shot. I mean, they have 2 losses. They have 2 wins as well. They've looked on and off. They look good at Duke. They look terrible at Georgia Tech. So it's going to be fun to watch them. It's fun. It's coastal chaos, Alex.
It really is. And it's great to see some new teams in the top 25 in college football because we're tired of seeing Clemson.
Yeah, I mean, people are like, college football is ruined. It's just the same teams every year, but it's like different this year. I mean, of course you have Alabama. Georgia's a kind of newer team. They've always been good, but they didn't make the playoff the last couple of years.
Yeah.
And then
Oklahoma.
You got Oregon. Oregon's up there. Oregon did lose. Oklahoma, they haven't really made it that much lately.
No, but they're not good this year. They're not going to make it again.
Yeah.
Iowa. How about this game this week, Ryan? Iowa, Penn State. Absolutely massive game. Not only in the Big Ten, but in college football.
I mean, I think the loser of that game, and if it's close, still has a shot to make the playoff. It's going to be a great game down in Iowa. I think Iowa's defense versus Penn State's defense. I mean, it's going to be great. Both these defenses are among the best in college football. Of course, Georgia is the best. But Iowa, Penn State, they are phenomenal on defense. That'll be a great game to watch. Hopefully, the Hawkeyes can pull it out.
I think they will. I actually think they will.
I think it being at home helps a lot.
Oh yeah, Iowa. It's great to see Iowa doing well. Iowa's always been a factory for tight ends,
and
it's good to see them have other positions that they're really performing pretty good.
And of course, though, we will have a video coming up of our own top 25 rankings, so we'll get more into these games upcoming. But make sure to go check that out. We thank you for listening to this. Remember, we're your one-stop podcast for everything Pittsburgh sports.